Hello friends and enemies, I'm Baltmatrix, and today it's time to bring the rain! That's right, after many weeks of dawdling, today we are finally going to review the Transformers Siege Rainmakers. We're talking about Acid Storm, Ion Storm, and Nova Storm. We're going to be talking about their personalities, their bios, and of course the figures themselves. But if you want to know what I think of the Siege Tetrajet mode, or mold, or Seekers mold, you have like 4 other videos on my channel that you could watch. Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp, and Red Wing. Those figures are all awesome in their own way, but I just had to get some more Seekers, so yeah, let's go ahead and open them up and take a look. Now, if you're unfamiliar with who the Rainmakers are, they were 3 Decepticon jets that were on Cybertron, and they appeared in one Generation 1 episode, and that was titled Divide and Conquer, where Chip Chase and a bunch of Autobots had to go to Cybertron to get parts to rebuild or repair Optimus Prime. This is a deep pull on Hasbro's part. I was not expecting them to ever make these figures. Acid Jet, Ion Storm, Nova Storm. Together, they make Acid Rain. That's a little weird considering their abilities. Well, except for Acid Storm. I think that one's a little bit self-explanatory. The only other time they've shown up in canon is during an Ask Vector Prime issue that appeared on July 13th of 2015. That's the only other time they've ever been mentioned. That, and they have Krios. That's it. That is the sum of their existence. One Generation 1 episode for a few minutes, an Ask Vector Prime mention, and Krios. That's it. Now, a very weird factoid. The acid rain that these 3 bots create only affects Autobots. That's not how acid rain works. In fact, oh, hi cat. That was caused by a kitty. Anyway, the acid rain only affects Autobots. Chip Chase, perfectly unharmed, which doesn't make any sense because the acid rain, or the amount of acid that would be in rain needed to affect a Cybertronian, would probably dissolve a human on contact. There could be some in-canon buffoonery created, or a really stupid reason that it only affects Autobots. I'm not sure how this works. Okay, but one thing that I am a little bit weirded out by, it only affects Autobots, but doesn't affect any other metal on Cybertron, and doesn't affect Chip Chase or his wheelchair. Yeah, I think some buffoonery is happening here, or shenanigans. Not sure which. Out of the packaging, all 3 of the bots standing next to each other look pretty darn good, though they do feel like they need more paint. Not gonna lie there. Now, my boy, Chrome Tyranno, aka Grimlockamus, is going to be making a custom of all 3 of these bots, and he's going to be auctioning them off or selling them off at TFCon Reston. Reston, Virginia. So I suggest if you're going to be down there, you give him a call or a shout out and see if you can buy that. Anyway, starting off with our yellow friend here, Nova Storm. Now, Nova Storm has armor that can withstand volcanic eruptions and can let him stand within, or exist within, this chronosphere of a star. That's the second layer down of 3 layers in a star. He's really heavily armored. And he also is one of the only bots that is able to, stand next to Sunstorm. I'm really happy we have a nice bright yellow Decepticon boy. I really like this coloring. It works incredibly well for the Seeker mold, and it's really nice to see someone that's yellow and not Bumblebee. And all the yellow is uniform. I can't really see anything out of the ordinary, except for 2 spots. The plastic that makes up the bottom part of the upper arm and these hinges back here are different yellow from the rest of the figure, which is just odd. That probably means they sourced the parts from completely different factories, most likely. Now moving on to Ion Storm. Ion Storm is in nice Thundercracker blue and has even less bio than Nova Storm. He creates EMPs, electromagnetic pulses. If you gotta shut down all the electronics somewhere, Ion Storm is your boy. Other than that, Don't know anything about him. There's no information on tfwiki.net, and there's nothing online about his personality. Is he menacing? Sure, I guess. Other than the fact that he's almost an exact replica of Thundercracker, who I've already reviewed, I don't know anything else about him. I do like the blue, though. It works. The blue on Ion Storm pops. It just pops and looks incredibly good. Oh man, just all three of these guys, the color just works incredibly well. Now, based on the animation model, I think it should be just a bit darker, but you know what? I could forgive it, or I can just send this off to a customizer and have them do it for me. Now, I have been saying that Ion Storm is exactly like Thundercracker. As you can see, they are actually different. Thundercracker does have more painting or gray painting up here in the fuselage, around his head, and down in his chest and his crotch. And his, well, feet and fists and forearms are black. But other than that, the paint difference between the blue is very subtle. There is a difference, so I'm going to zoom in here on the arms. You can see that Thundercracker is just a smidge greener than Ion Storm. So Ion Storm is much more in the blue tinge, while Thundercracker is much closer to a bluish green. It's only really noticeable in hand and under decent lighting. So my kitchen lights are fluorescent lights, and under fluorescent lights, it's very difficult to tell the colors apart. But if you're in daylight or 55K lumen light, which is what I'm at here in my studio, the difference is definitely noticeable. And finally, we come to Acid Storm, who I think is actually the most interesting in terms of personality. He is one of the Rainmakers. Yes, he does have the ability to secrete acid from his body. Yes, he can turn thunderstorms or fly into a rain cloud and turn it into acid rain. Yes, but most interestingly, he has no ambition. He is not like a lot of the Decepticons that are type A and really want to rule and lead and kill as many Autobots as possible. No, Acid Storm is perfectly happy just working for Shockwave, doing his thing, and being part of the Rainmakers. And I can get behind that. Not wanting to be the big leader, not wanting to be the spotlight. Sure, he could. He is apparently the most powerful and most deadly of all the Rainmakers. But he's just fine where he is. And man, I can totally get behind that. Up close and personal, our Acid Boy looks really good. I like the lime green. I do wish the splotches were darker, but overall, the figure looks good. It's nice, it's bright, it's something different, and it goes well with Red Wing. The aesthetic just works really well for me. Like the rest of the Seeker's head is on a ball joint and can move around pretty well, can also look up pretty far, but can't look down much. Shoulder is on a hinge that can move in and out, and then the actual shoulder at the top of the arm. There's a hinge inside the shoulder in the body that allows for forward and out, or forward and back movement. That's really part of the transformation. And then the actual shoulder can move in and out on a hinge, and then 360-degree rotation, swivel just underneath the shoulder, double bend at the elbow for over 90 degrees, and then the fists do rotate. Wings can flap out on a hinge, and then on a swivel all the way up, and you can get a really weird looking series of wings, but you can put the wings straight back if you want. There is torso articulation for the transformation, but it is limited due to the backpack. Hips can kick forward over 90 degrees and can kick back just about 90 degrees. Then the hinges can go out for a complete split. Thigh swivel, over 90-degree bend at the knee, and then a little bit of ankle articulation in and out, forwards and back. Each one of these bad boys possesses red light piping that works incredibly well. Shockwave's angels here are really cool. Don't get me wrong, I actually like them a lot, even though these are now the 5th, 6th, and 7th versions of these molds that I've gotten a hold of. Transformation for these bad boys is exactly the same as all of the other Seekers that we've already taken a look at. First, remove the weapons and put them off to the side. Then come down to the forearms and open up the forearms. Rotate the fists up into those forearms, collapse the elbow into those open forearms, and then close them up. Next, come to the back of the figure, fold the wings out, and then accordion, or just kind of slide off the pylons from the pegs, and then rotate them around to the bottom of the robot mode to form the front of the jet. Then we can come to the head, and this little tab that is behind the head in the chest, you got to get in there, flip it up, and then peg it into the back of the head. Then you can take the head and fold that up into the body like so. Next, come to the chest, unpeg the chest, and flip it up over to where the head was, but leave it away from the body like that for right now. Straighten out the legs, close the heels and the toes, take the entire torso and turn it 180 degrees, and then rotate the legs and fold them up into what was the butt of the robot mode, while being careful not to get the heels caught on the chest piece that we just folded up. So what I like to do is just fold the feet all the way out like that, so that the thrusters are pointing away from the chest of the robot mode. Then we can grab the arms and fold them down, and there are peg holes for the outside of the legs on the forearms. Peg them into place on both sides. Then we can fold the entire jet front section down, making sure that the hips are lined up correctly. Fold the wings down, and the wings will peg into place on the top of the forearms in these 3 peg holes, and right underneath the canopy of the vehicle mode. Why it has a canopy, I don't know, because this is supposed to be before they met humans. Ah, well. Finally, for the last bit, grab the thrusters, fold them down over the face, then grab the chest plate, fold it up, and snap it into place on those 2 pegs. And then we can fold the thrusters back into place and attach the guns to the bottom of the wings. Like that. Transformed into their jet modes, they all look pretty darn good, though I continue to maintain my opinion that the schmutz that is from the Siege, or that is a part of the Siege line, doesn't do any favors. In fact, I would really like it if they would just release the second wave of Siege figures in that animation look that they're releasing Prime and Megatron as. I think that might be better. Anyway, here is Acid Storm in his green flavor. Here is Ion Storm in his blue. And for comparison, here is Thundercracker. Now, in their jet modes, it's really interesting. Thundercracker's darker in the jet mode than Ion Storm. And finally, we have Nova Storm, who I've got to say, Nova Storm and Acid Storm are my favorites in this set. I like the coloring in their jet modes, that is. I like the coloring of the lime green and the lemon yellow. I think that works really well. And here are all the jets together: Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp, Red Wing, Acid Storm, Nova Storm, and Ion Storm. All of them together look really cool. I really like having my own little armada. Now, I really hope that we get some Coneheads in the future. They don't have to look exactly like this, but I just can't help feeling that we're missing something without them. And that is the Target exclusive Rainmakers. The set costs $80, and for $80 you're getting 3 pretty darn good figures. Now, there is one qualm I have, or one issue, and that has to do with Ion Storm. Specifically, his guns. They're too loose. They're just way, way too loose in both robot and vehicle modes. And I've tested these little guns on all the other Tetrajets and all the other figures. They are loose, so the connector port here is just a little bit too small. It still holds in place. They have a tendency to move with very, very little force. So just be aware of that if you're going to pick up this set. That could be fixed by the time it gets into your hands. I like all these 3 figures. I think they're a lot of fun, and this is the first time I've felt the need to buy literally every single Seeker that Hasbro releases. Yeah, this is the first time since the Classics line that I've felt that need. And boy, they're going to get me when they come up with Coneheads, because I want Thrust, I want Dirge, I want Ramjet, and I just really want those figures, and I'm sure they're going to come up with more Seekers as well down the line. But they haven't announced anything yet, so we'll have to see what they come up with in 2020. So folks, let me know what you think of these 3 guys. So folks, let me know what you think of these three figures down in the comments. Be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. Thank you so much for watching. I have been Baltmatrix, and I will catch you next time.